Drivers heading out on track that they'll set the grid for tomorrow afternoon's race number 1. This is the official first step on the road to Indy ladder, but it's sort of the second step. I've got Matt Clark with me this afternoon, and he was the young driver who won both USF Juniors presented by Cooper Tires races this weekend. Welcome aboard, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Good. Well, we'll get into things here. We've got half an hour of qualifying to go, and what we'll see here is we'll see these drivers sort of go out for the first 10 to 15 minutes and try and set a hot lap, and then come in, and then they'll usually put on fresh Cooper tires, and then they'll go back out, and usually the last 5 minutes of qualifying is the most exciting part, but a lot of what these drivers are dealing with right now is getting a feel for what the track is like and what's changed, because we just had, Indy cars turn 400 laps. Mac, maybe you can tell the fans what it's like when you go on track after someone who's got more grip in the tires, and what you can do as a driver to adjust to that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, 400 laps with the Firestones putting down some good rubber here at Barber Motorsports Park. It's going to be a big change for USF2000 drivers. Their last session was, around noon, 1 o'clock, and there was no Firestone rubber down at all. And now you've waited 4 or 5 hours. Sun's gone down a little bit, a lot more rubber on the track. So it's going to be difficult for these drivers, and making sure that they're adjusting their racing lines in the early laps this qualifying session and trying to get the car underneath them.
And am I right that usually when there's more grip and this kind of rubber down, they're looking at oversteer, a little bit more oversteer than what they would have had earlier in the day? Is there something you can do as a driver to correct that, or is that something you'll work with your team on to maybe set up the car just a little bit different for that?
I think that's more of a 50-50 situation, right? Like you said, I mean, when the grip comes down, it tends to be a little bit more oversteer on our side. So, that means smoother inputs, whether it be with your hands or the throttle, the brake, but also, readying back to your team and making sure that you're communicating with them to try to get the car set up, to the ideal position for maybe your second quality run.
Good. You obviously are 4 for 4 now in the USF Juniors presented by Cooper Tires season. Won 2 races last weekend at Ozark International, and then 2 races, 1 yesterday and 1 today. Could you have imagined a start to your season like this?
I was asked that question earlier today, and honestly, coming into the year, the goal for myself and the goal for D-Force Racing and the number 17 Valkyrie car was to really take hold of this championship early. But until, we got here and we did it, we didn't really know what was going to happen. So, I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for what the team's given me the first 4 races of the season, and just trying to keep my head down and really focus on that championship hunt.
Good. Mac and myself are both from Canada. We're filling in for Rob Howden. Rob will be back in his familiar position tomorrow. I think he's actually on the plane as we speak, so you'll get your familiar voice back. But maybe, Mac, tell us a little bit about how you got into racing and what it takes to continue to race at the level you're at.
Yeah, so I got into racing when I was 10, 11 years old. Like most kids, I grew up watching F1 on Sunday, sitting on the couch, and my father raced before me. So, eventually I asked him one day, I said, Dad, how can I get into racing? What can I do? I don't want to play T-ball with my friends this year. I want to go drive race cars. And so it happened. And since then, it's kind of been steady progress up to where I am today in 2022. And really just trying to get, all the support I can, whether that be from new partners, from different teams, and continue my journey on the road to IndyCar.
Well, it's been a good start so far for you.
Thank you.
We've got most of the drivers have turned 3 laps so far. We've got Simon Sykes, the number 19 Legacy Autosport car up front right now. Only driver under 83 seconds lap. Next up is Billy Fraser with Exclusive Autosport. Billy led the earlier practice session, so I'd expect him to be pretty quick. And then Miles Rowe is next up, and he won one of the 2 races to start the season at St. Petersburg. So experienced drivers up front, not a surprise. When you come back to a series, obviously USF Juniors is different than what you've driven before, but it's the same car. Is it just, as a driver, does it make you that much more comfortable and that much more confident coming into a season knowing that you don't have to learn the car?
I think so. I think I'm at the point now in the USF Juniors package where I kind of put the car on like a glove, if that makes sense. Like I feel really confident when my mechanic Omar belts me into the car. I feel like I'm a part of it, as silly as that sounds. And just kind of radiating confidence heading into say race 1 or race 2 this weekend. So I think it makes it a lot easier as a second-year driver coming back into a series.
Obviously, we're in qualifying here. At a track like this, how important is qualifying? I know it's not the easiest track to pass at. Is it, you started on pole both your races. It's not obviously the only way to win, but how important is that?
I think qualifying on pole position is a crucial part of your race weekend, and as you head up the ladder, as you head up the road to Indy, you go from USF2000, then to Indy Pro, and then to Indy Lights. I think as you head up, it becomes more and more important. Get to faster cars, heavier cars, more downforce, it becomes more difficult to overtake. So I think, it's not detrimental if you qualify second or third in a series like USF2000, but maybe when you start getting up to Indy Pro or Indy Lights, that pole position starts to mean more.
Yep, and Simon Sykes is still on top, still the only driver with a sub 83-second lap. Miles Rowe right now just sitting. Oh, Miles just went to P1, actually. Miles, race winner earlier this season, race winner last year with the new team, Pabst Racing this year. Miles is an awfully quick driver, and he's definitely one to watch. Miles has got an interesting story. Miles is also a very good photographer and very good videographer. He does an internship with one of the companies that works around IndyCar and with some of the teams to produce their images and content, and he does a really good job at that. So he might have a different career if the racing doesn't work out, but I think the racing will definitely work out. Mac, maybe tell us what it's like in a qualifying session like this where you've got a limited amount of time. Do you wait for, to try your hardest lap once, the Cooper rubber comes back down and the track should be quicker for you guys, or do you just try every lap to go as fast as you can?
I think you have to be very strategic about when you push your hardest as a driver. I think a lot of these young drivers know that their second set of Cooper tires is probably going to be when they lay their best lap down. Like you said, that last 5 minutes of qualifying is really going to be when stuff starts to get exciting. So I think saving your car and yourself for the end is not necessarily a bad thing.
And as we can see, it's so tight in this series. You've got half a second between the top 10, and I expect that to be like that the entire way through qualifying. When you're doing a lap like this, it's so important to get every corner right, isn't it? Like, one mistake can cost you 5, 6, 7 positions. Is that mentally, how do you get prepared for that? Because in some ways, qualifying is probably the most pressure you face all weekend, isn't it?
Agreed. And I think we're very lucky in the road to Indy to have that level of competition. I'd say it's one of the closest, series of competitors around the globe, right? And making sure that you have everything perfect on that qualifying lap, it adds some pressure for us drivers. So I try not to think about it too much when I'm out there doing my lap. But
I understand that.
No, definitely important to have the right mental focus going into qualifying and ensure that you're hitting all your marks in order to do a good lap time.
And we've got right now Simon Sykes is still on provisional pole, but we've got some drivers coming into pit road for adjustments. And we've got, it looks like there's right now, just to show you what this series is like, there's 5 teams in the top 5, which it goes to show just how tight this series is and how driver focused it is. The teams are so evenly matched, which is great for driver development. It makes it, it makes it an easier job for a parent to decide, okay, what team am I going to go with? It doesn't really matter what team you're with, does it? You can have a chance to win and be competitive with pretty much every team in the series. That's not always the case in a series, is it?
For sure. I mean, I'm a little bit biased to my team,
Obviously,
Racing.
yes.
Obviously, rooting for the boys down there in the pit lane. I can see them change into fresh Cooper rubber right now. But I think the Road to Indy provides a very fair package for all the drivers, and it really allows you to compete no matter which team you're with.
Good, and we're getting close to actually, we just passed over the halfway point of the session. We've got 20 minutes of green flag guaranteed time, and we've got half an hour to get that done, but we've been all green all the way so far. And Simon Sykes is still holding down the provisional pole, but not by much. There's Joe, wow, look at that. The top four within a tenth of a second of Sykes, which is crazy. Michael D'Orlando, Cape Motorsports veteran, is second, and Miles Rowe with Pabst Racing, and then Billy Fraser with Exclusive is in fourth. And like we said, it's so tight. Again, now we're up to the top 12 within a half a second of Sykes. So we should start to see, it'll take maybe three laps for the two Cooper tires to come in. Mac, you're familiar with this tire since it's one that you race with the exact same tire on your cars. Is that about right, 3 laps for it to come into the optimal operating window?
Yeah, I think each team kind of has their own trick to the tire. I think anywhere in between, lap 2 and lap 5, those are really your peak laps where you can extract the most as a driver.
And once they get to that point, do they pretty much stay, unless you lock them up, do they pretty much stay consistent?
Yeah, for sure. The Coopers are an extremely stable tire. They peak a little bit, like I said, laps 2 to 5, and then after that, you kind of drop off a little bit and you get that nice plateau. So, they were certainly resilient for us in the racing.
Good. And we've got a new provisional pole sitter with Billy Fraser with Exclusive Autosport. It's the burgundy car if you're out there watching on TV or out there on the hills and watching the racing here. It's the number 92. But we've got, I'm watching the timing screen here, and it's lighting up green as guys continue to get faster and faster as the session goes on. We'll see if we can get under into the 81 second range. I'm not sure if we will, but we're going to get close, I think. Usually when they put on that second set of tires, it can go up to about half a second quicker, just because the driver's been able to tell the team what kind of changes need to be made. And with these cars, you're not making a ton of changes, but you probably maybe dial in, dial out front wing, right, depending on what the driver's feeling.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's taking any massive swings at the car, but I think there's definitely some adjustments going on. A little bit of rear wing, maybe put some more downforce in the back. Change toe quickly on the fly. But other than that, I think it's about these drivers getting to grips with this racetrack and how it's changed.
And we've still got Billy Fraser. Actually, now he's 4 tenths ahead of everybody, but he was one of the first ones back out there. So we'll with the fresh Coopers. Sykes is still getting up to speed, and we've got D'Orlando. And actually, Sykes just went back out on a fresh set of Coopers. So it's interesting to see. We've got the top 5 are all veterans. Then Jagger Jones is 6th right now, and Jagger's got an interesting story. If everybody knows Parnelli Jones, the name Parnelli Jones, Jagger is Parnelli's grandson. Came from the stock car world, and this is his first venture into open wheel racing this year. That's got to be tough, right? Like to come from a stock car background then into open wheel for the first time.
For sure. I was able to share the track with Jagger last November at the Chris Griffiths test, but he's done an excellent job adapting to open wheel racing, and I think the family and the lineage that he comes from, he's got a lot of people behind him, and he's doing a solid first job in his opening campaign in the USF2000 series.
And we've got top 10 right now is Fraser, Sykes, Denmark, D'Orlando, Rowe, Jones, Bijoy Garg, Jacob Douglas, Thomas Nepvu, and Christian Weir. And you're teammates with Bijoy Garg and Thomas Nepvu. Was Thomas someone you karted with, or I'm assuming since he's a fellow Canadian?
Yeah. Tom and I had our fair share of battles on the track throughout karting, and we kind of grew up together. I was a little later onto the scene, but we got to know each other quite well through our karting years.
Good, and he actually just jumped up to P2, so that's a good start. And your other teammate just jumped up to P1, Bijoy Garg. It's been fun. It's been good to see Bijoy have a good, solid start to his sophomore campaign in USF2000. He didn't have the greatest of years last year, and it wasn't his fault. Most of the time, he was the unfortunate victim to many other drivers' mistakes. So it's good to see him have a chance to show off what he can do. But once again, we've got a whole bunch of different teams up top. It's fascinating to watch. We've got the top 10 now within a second. We've got, what is it, just 4.5 minutes remaining. So we're going to get down to it here, and we should start to watch the times continue to drop. And we were talking about getting under that 82-second mark, and we're getting awfully close, within 400ths of a second. When you're on a qualifying run like this, you're obviously being able to talk to your team and your engineer or your team owner. What do they tell you when you're getting close to a pole lap? Do they let you know that, hey, just find that few tenths?
I think every driver is different and every team is different in the way they go about it. I personally don't love to hear too much on the radio. Some drivers are different. Some drivers want to hear, updates every lap. I'm kind of, once every 2 laps, feed me the important stuff, and I'm really lucky to have a really, really good driver coach over at D-Force Racing, and Matthias Leist, seasoned IndyCar driver.
Yep.
And, he'll tell me every few laps, okay, Mac, we need 2 tenths, we need 4 tenths, however much you need to stick it on the pole, and I find that very helpful.
Good. And we've got Garg still on provisional pole. We've got just about 3.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. All clean and green so far, which is impressive for these guys. Obviously, you guys had 2 green flag complete races this weekend. How important is that as a driver in your development to be able to run under green flag? It's different pressure, right? It's being green the entire time. It has to hone your concentration.
Oh, for sure. Mentally, it's much more difficult than, say, having a yellow to break it up, 10 minutes yellow, 10 minutes yellow. I think running, the whole 20 laps, 25 laps straight green, it's mentally draining, and that's something I've kind of been working on as a driver, is making sure that, I'm staying out my 100% or very close, that 99% for the whole race. So I think that's definitely a challenge that a lot of these drivers will face.
And we've still got Garg as the provisional pole sitter, followed by Michael D'Orlando with Cape Motorsports, Miles Rowe with Pabst Racing, Billy Fraser with Exclusive Autosport, and Thomas Nepfu, your teammate with D-Force Racing. Actually, Jagger John just jumped up into the middle there, but this is going to change a lot here in the last few minutes, everybody. If you got a chance to download the Road to Indy app, you can watch the timing and scoring on that. You'll be able to see how quickly it's changing. Right now, we're, 0.05 of a second between the two, going for provisional pole. And Simon Sykes, who was the driver that was quickest in the first half of the session, has now just improved his time. So I expect his next lap to be a better one. He was one of the last ones to go out on the fresh Coopers, so he might be a little bit behind the other guys on the improvements. And we're back down to having, the top 8 within a half second. So it's definitely tightening up here for the final 2 minutes. Maybe tell us a little bit about your sponsors. Give them a chance to get a shout out and how important they are to what you do.
I think sponsors are an important part to every driver in the Road to Indy, but I'm a little biased towards my own. I have MIR Raceline USA supporting me from all my equipment neck down, so I'm thankful to have them on board. They keep me safe and looking fresh. I got Bell Helmets on board, Valkyrie AI. They've been a big part of putting my 2022 program together with D-Force Racing, and all my friends, family back home. Right, I wouldn't be here without the support of everyone behind me. So big shout out to all my friends and family.
Good. We're into the last minute of qualifying here, and it's we're definitely getting down to it. And we still got Bijoy Garg on provisional pole. Just bumped out by Miles Rowe. Was a winner earlier this season at St. Petersburg, and he's the first driver to drop under 82 seconds. But I think we'll probably see a few different drivers hold that provisional pole here in the last minute as they get ready to cross the timing line, which is just before pit in. It's actually not the start finish line; it's before pit in. So we'll start to see the drivers turn in their last laps here, and let's watch and see who ends up with this important pole position. But it's awfully tight.
I think I can see my engineer Carlos sweating a little bit down there.
Oh boy,
he's getting nervous.
I bet he is. Yeah. So he's probably going to hope his driver has one more big lap in him. But it's still outside front row start would be fantastic for Bijoy after a season that he probably would like to forget last year. He had the pace at times, but just not the results. And we've got a checkered flag, so we'll wait and see. Right now, Miles Rowe still your provisional pole sitter, but we've got a few more drivers that have a chance to cross the line to see who's gonna go quickest here. Billy Fraser looks like he's got, on his last lap just through Charlotte's Web. Billy was the quickest driver in practice this morning, so let's see if he can put one down. But right now it's still Miles Rowe hanging on with the provisional pole. Be a great result for Miles. He won the first race of the year, or second race of the year at St. Petersburg. Unfortunately had an incident in the first race while trying to make a pass for the lead. So we just got a few more drivers to cross the timing line here, and we've got Miles still sitting as provisional pole. I'm sure he's down there with the Pabst Racing guys sweating a little bit to wait and see if that is something that he gets to hold on to. He's actually just coming to the pits right in front of us as he's getting ready to drive off the track, and we still got Miles. Got a few drivers that improved in that on their last lap. Nikki Hayes, Cape Motorsports drivers, moved up into the top 10, and we'll recap your qualifying order here as soon as everybody comes into pit road. We're getting close. Doesn't look like anyone's going to pit Rowe. So right now we've got Miles Rowe as your pole sitter for race number 1 at the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Alabama for USF2000 presented by Cooper Tires. He'll be joined on the front row by D-Force Bijoy Garg. Then Jagger Jones is right now in the 3rd spot. Followed by Simon Sykes of Legacy Autosport, Michael D'Orlando of Cape Motorsports, Billy Fraser of Exclusive Autosport, Thomas Nepvu of D-Force Racing, Christian Weir of Turn 3 Racing, Nikki Hayes, Cape Motorsports, Dylan Christie, another D-Force driver, Jace Denmark, Pabst Racing, Spike Kohlbecker, Turn 3 Motorsport with Ignite Autosport, Victor Anderson, Jackson Lee with Cape Motorsports, Jacob Douglas with Exclusive Autosport, Trey Burke, Danny Dazinski, Jorge Ziacare, and Yiru Lee round out the 19 drivers that took part in qualifying. And it was awfully tight, right? 15 drivers within 1 second. Just maybe explain to the people how many mistakes is 1 second?
Not many, man. Not many at all. I think we're privileged, like I said before in this qualify session, to have a series that's so competitive. I think it's really good practice for the drivers moving up the ladder all the way at IndyCar. So really, really good job to Miles Rowe and the team. Happy to have my D-Force teammate Bijoy starting on the outside of row 1, but we'll see what the race brings tomorrow.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Mac. It was great to have you on, and it was a lot of fun, and we'll hopefully see you around. And when's your next race? Is it...
We are, I think, VIR.
VIR, right?
June,
so. Good. So you get a little bit of time, but I know you're racing in another series, so you get a chance to do that. We'll pass it back over to the PA here and see everybody down the road.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.